拐洞138呼叫138呼叫138呼叫，不是。3拐洞138呼叫138呼叫138呼叫，不是。3拐洞138呼叫。
Hi, this is Tom Church with Role Playing Public Radio, episode 23, Tricks and Treats.
That's Halloween tricks and treats.
Well, when you ever mention tricks and treats, Ross, what do you think about? Which holiday comes to mind?
No, I think about what the hell does that kid learn, because it's trick or treat, not tricks and treats. You see, you go from the...
talking too much.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with me is Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah, you notice I introduced that one. Yeah. We switch things up.
It's like Bizarro Day.
We keep it spicy.
There we go.
That's how we do it.
That's a spicy tomato.
Never say that again. Never.
Anyways, for this episode, Tom and I have come up with a bunch of ideas, just sort of mini topics, talking about horror gaming in general, how to run, more stuff, advice for you, since a lot of you really appreciated.
Yeah, it's still October. We feel we should still continue on horror.
Yeah,
as long as we're in October.
So
I'm sure in Thanksgiving we'll cover some food game stuff.
Well, some of our listeners have got really great advice out of last episode.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I think it's Andrew Gold who ran a horror game for the first time, and he really did. The players were all scared. So yeah, we'll try and give you some more fodder for food for thought, or blood for thought. I don't know.
Well, you're not on your horror game tonight here. You're not. I'm not feeling it.
No, I'm just a horrible little man. So, Tom, why don't you talk first about the topic?
Well, okay. I thought of this topic, and mainly from very strong personal experience for the last year, is how exactly do you run a horror game for a group that doesn't do horror? Now, this could be because they don't like it, they just haven't done it before. And I kind of have a problematic group when it comes to running horror games. Yeah,
we mentioned this a little bit in the last episode, but
Well, I'm planning one that I'm hoping will do it, and I've had to change some things up for what I normally do. I mean, our normal games for that group are lighthearted.
This is your Gargoyles group, right?
Yes, this is they love that game because there's weird, freaky shit, but it's nothing too horrific, nothing really gory, nothing that leaps out and smashes them in the face with the fear hammer.
Right, they're not threatened, in other words.
No, and I honestly don't think they like to be threatened. So I'm actually I run games with them. I think of ideas and I ask them, what do you think of this? I also take requests. And I've had to take a request recently.
Yeah.
They wanted an anime game.
Anime.
Yeah, and I'm not the world's biggest. In fact, I'm not a fan of anime.
Any anime?
There's like a few shining gems in a sea of shit.
Yeah.
So
what are your shining gems, Tom?
I like the Guyver series.
Okay.
I liked Hellsing.
Okay.
That's about it, actually.
Really? Not even Akira?
No.
You know what I liked about Akira?
What?
It wasn't the animation, it wasn't the plot, it wasn't the action, it was Tetsuo! Kaneda! Tetsuo! Yeah.
You're just gonna go back, you're just gonna do that forever?
I could have it Tetsuo screaming 9,000 campaign.
Oh, dude.
Just guys screaming Tetsuo in the desert.
And then you roll some dice.
And they get over 9,000.
Yeah.
The dragon. Yeah.
But anyway, no, the one they've requested that they're apparently super into is Bleach.
Oh, yes, that's one of what the kiddies like nowadays, don't it?
Yeah.
That and Naruto.
And Death Note, depending on who you talk to.
Ooh, that's the hot topic anime, right?
Yeah. So they wanted something based on Bleach.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not about to go watch Bleach before I run this.
Well, I mean, honestly, Tom, you don't have enough time. I mean, like, there are, 7,000 episodes of... I mean, there's, Season 18, Episode 915.
Yeah, the episode list has exponents on it by now.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Thank you. So I've gone to the wiki on it.
Yeah.
Just to get some basic shit, and I'm like, all right, oh Jesus Christ, big swords that get bigger and bigger still.
And they have to train to get more secret ninja powers.
And they're dead. That's the part I fear I can work with that.
Yeah.
So I think I figured out what I want to do, and since it's Halloween, I'm starting at Halloween night.
Nice.
After they get back from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, they're going to the Moxie's Rocky Horror, or are they going to a different showing?
They're going to the Moxie's.
Nice.
I'm a heathen. I don't like that movie. But anyway,
I can take it or leave it.
So, from what I learned, I had to research it about Bleach, and I can't believe I'm talking about this, but please bear with me, people. There is payoff, I promise you. I realized it all takes place. It's the Japan Soul Society stuff where they hunt souls that become hollows, which are
monsters, right?
Monsters, yeah.
Hollow, you don't get like, oh, I'm a hollow, I'm happy, and I'm like a gummy bear. No, hollow,
and of course they want it lighthearted, and they also love it when I throw in pop culture items. Okay. So, in this one, to throw them off to think of what kind of game this is going to be, I'm going to send it that something's going on in America.
Okay.
And America has a brand new society of their own. Except it's so new that they're on the swing of things, and it's based off the Old West.
Ooh, okay.
So now I'm setting it in the 80s for a reason, because they said, okay, it'd be great to have some, throw some culture in, like you'll love it when you do that. So I'm throwing the Ghostbusters in. I told them that much.
Okay.
Which you're like, oh, dude, this is gonna be fun. However, everything that's going to be antagonists, I made up on my own by borrowing some from the Book of Unrelenting Horror.
That's going to be that's from Pelgrim Press. It's a monster book for Fear Itself and Esoterrorists. We'll mention it later in the shout-out section. Suffice to say, there's some really fucked up shit in it.
Yeah. There's some of the things I'm going to use. I'm going to use the blood corpses.
Yeah. Those are the monsters that we had in the Fear Itself game. Yeah. Although I didn't name them. They're basically blood junkies.
Yeah.
With needles for fingers.
I'll be using the organ grinder.
Oh, yeah, that's the big old tank kind of like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm using the practice.
Okay. Evil medical doctor monsters.
And my goal is... I'm planning I'm using the Outer Dark from it. I like that idea.
I think it's the Outer Black, but yeah, whatever.
I think it's Outer Black, the crawling dimension of terror and darkness. And I've decided that I'm going to build it slowly. First, like you get to New York, he's like, well, first you meet the American group. It's a bunch of like ex-cowboys and people that are totally new to this, and their weapons are guns. It's gonna be awesome. And then you get to New York when there's rumors of mortals have figured out a way to trap spirits with science. And there's a bunch of interaction there. Then I start to slowly build it up.
Nice. Yeah.
It's gonna start very lighthearted. Then I'll have a small scary thing.
Then this shit just got real.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna wait. First, it's gonna be a couple of weird shit before shit starts to get real.
Okay.
Then, and it's going to climax in the building at the end of Ghostbusters. However, it's not going to be anything just they're opening a doorway.
Right.
It's going to be this building is taken over by shit that defies comprehension.
Nice.
And there's going to be lots of mortals suffering. And people they once were friends with are now horrible monsters that are trying to kill them.
I like that. I like the betrayal angles. That's a good way of doing it. I mean, you wouldn't even have to emphasize one thing. My only suggestion, since your group is such a horror lightweights, not to emphasize the really torture, horror, suffering type stuff, but like the betrayal. I think that would be enough to get it. Like hit them with one or the other. Like not both at the same time. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like in any given session, say, all right, I'm just going to emphasize betrayal. That their friends are being mind controlled, and they have to kill their own friends. I mean, that's horror enough for them.
Yeah. Right? Or like they're now screwed up monsters, but you can still tell who this once was.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the idea that they have to kill put down their own friend, like so make it some NPC that they just love, Walker Texas Ranger or whatever, and then that they have to kill him at the end, or Egon or Spengler or one of the Ghostbusters or something like that. That he's turning into this horrible biomechanical monstrosity that's in pain and anguish and lives only to kill, and that they have to destroy him or he will destroy New York. That alone is horror enough for them. I'm guessing.
And the practice I'm going to use subtly too, but I love
the
basically it's
pulling the strings behind everything.
Yeah, well, they're like this primary enemies with the main bad guy, who's now, I'm saying, who is pulled into the outer dark and became part of it.
There is only Zool.
Yeah, and Zool and like the you know, those horrible monster dog things from Ghostbusters will be in there. Only they'll be actually using their viciousness to tear people apart.
Again, yeah. You know, one thing I thought of while you were talking about that, there could be another alternate route. Well, it's actually Japanese, which would be take the ghost route. You know, like look at movies like The Ring, The Grudge, things like that, or the Eye, or the whatever, you know, and there's very little gore in it. In fact, almost none at all. And except for a couple of things, and it emphasizes, you know, people being taken or, you know, just disappearing, and being swallowed up, and, you know, they're PG-13 type movies, and they're still really, really scary. So if at least the good ones are, I mean, a lot of those are crappy movies, or at least the American remakes are. Fuck the American remakes, man. Yeah. If it doesn't have subtitles, it sucks.
Yeah, there's another thing I'm going to do. I told them what I want them to know.
Right.
Like I told them, and also Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. Yeah. I'll probably throw him in there like, oh, dude, he's awesome. Except I'm going to use him like the way he's intended to be used. That I don't really think they get. They just think he looks cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to have him going after them.
Have you played Silent Hill 2?
Oh, I've beaten it. I love the game. It's one of my.
Have you read some of the plot analysis and some of like what the symbolism of what Pyramid Head? I mean, one thing is emphasized is that Pyramid Head can't die. I mean, like he's not really a person. He's a manifestation of something greater. So like every time they fight him, they might drive him off, or but he'll come back.
Yeah.
So.
But and. I think they love the way he looks, not him trying to kill them with that knife that's bigger than he is.
Yeah.
They've never done that. Where it can even kill them even though they're dead, or it starts killing, or I can imagine like another NPC they really love, and he just does the hold them up, just tear their skin off and then throw it at them.
Right. Again, though, to be honest, if I were you, I wouldn't try and emphasize the gore so much, because then they might just buy out of it. Stop.
No, they're gore lightweights too.
So yeah,
and I'm not going to shower them with entrails right away.
I mean, with lightweights, you can't keep throwing since they have such a low tolerance for that. You got to just overwhelm them with one single swoop. One particularly awful scare. And I don't think it should be gore. I think you maybe make it totally gore. Experiment. I mean, this is your game.
Well, some scenes will be entirely goreless.
Right. So you might try a scenario where it's like ghosts and there's no gore whatsoever, but people are just disappearing and they have to figure out what's going on. Maybe you could do the whole Ring or Ju-on thing or The Grudge, I'm sorry, where they know they're cursed, that they're going to die in 7 days or 3 days or whatever, unless they figure it out. And people have NPCs around them start disappearing. Just see how that happens. I mean, no gore, but people are disappearing. The lights start flickering. They hear voices. They see things. That would be really freaky. So, yeah. I don't know. Just a thought. So
that's what I'm going to do is, like, I can run horror with them if I don't tell them it's going to be horror.
Yeah. And they don't listen to this podcast.
And as long as I keep it simple in the beginning,
yeah,
they'll be along with the game so much that they're not really going to notice that I've suddenly changed their anime into horror.
Yeah, yeah. So let us know how that goes. See if you can get them to record.
I'll see if one of the players particularly doesn't like to be recorded.
Okay, fair enough. So, anyways. Well, one of the things you also mentioned were, some of the success in horror stories of some of your past games and things like that.
Yeah, and a lot of the successes I have to attribute to Sean. He really was a great horror game GM. I think some people can do it, and I think some people can't.
That's true.
I was fortunate that he was one of those that could. And I mentioned one. I mentioned one a while ago of the White Wolf game where we were federal agents.
Yeah.
And he was also good at that, keeping it subtle at first. We were walking down a gravel road and we stop and we still hear gravel footsteps behind us.
Right.
Turn, nothing's there. And he was also good at setting. He was good at he used music, but he kept it really soft, and then he knew right the moment when to pump it up.
Right. Yeah, that timing is just you either got it or you can learn it, but it's just. You're right about some people not being able to run horror games, and some people are. It all depends on your personality and what really interests you. Unless horror really is your thing, then you shouldn't run horror campaigns per se.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really hate horror, if you're not a horror fan at all, I mean, if you just can't stand horror, I mean, you really shouldn't be trying to run it.
No.
I mean, only run the stuff that really interests you.
Well, I've known people that they hate horror, but they want to be expert, versatile GMs.
Yeah.
So they'll try to run shit they don't like. And it shows.
Yeah. And I mean, don't try and force yourself. I mean, an occasional horror one-shot or something like that. I mean, you never know until you try,
right.
Conversely. So if you're not sure about horror, give it a shot. But, I mean, if you hate it,
Yeah, I remember, like, Sean, he preferred to run White Wolf.
Yeah.
I think the best games he ever did when we were playing Mortals.
Yeah.
Because...
Again, powerless.
Yeah. I know, and he comes from the school of first edition World of Darkness, where it was horror, not supernatural superheroes.
Right.
That's really what it became.
I mean, in the old World of Darkness, that's the pretty big accusation, especially when you are one of the creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you're immortal, yeah, you're pretty much fucked.
Well, the first edition really,
first edition.
Yeah, first edition.
Not old versus new World of Darkness.
I'm talking about first edition Old World of Darkness, where it was like being a vampire was bad. It's just, you're a horrible monster who's just lost his humanity. Not you're a vampire now, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is what second and third edition.
How many dots of superpowers do I get?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I want more dots. Dot.
Yeah, but whenever we were running games that were like when you were running vampire or werewolf, although I wasn't there, I had the Sean game, but he ran Wraith one time for David.
Ooh.
And David did not take that very well. Wraith is all about. Because Sean knew Wraith, but what he was most good at was being your shadow, which is constantly trying to corrupt you.
Yeah.
Sean was excellent at doing the niggling little voice that's telling you to do bad things. David got uncomfortable with it. To the point is like I don't want to do Wraith again.
Wow.
And
it was both a success and a failure, because it was successful in that he was scary, but it's a failure that the player never wants to play again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like no Wraith, no more.
Yeah.
And it's too bad because then he showed me the Spectre book.
Yeah.
Which is a Black Dog game.
Right. That's those are the evil, fucked up spirits that are all corrupted and everything.
Yeah, the Spectres, they're the ones who've given into their shadow.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have been in that game. But I was on vacation.
Wraith, I've heard several really knowledgeable people call it the best RPG ever. Or one of the best.
And the thing is, a lot of the people he played with who did White Wolf didn't like to play Mortals. They're used to power.
Right.
I personally kind of thought it was kind of fun to be a normal guy in a world surrounded by supernatural horror that apparently no one seems to see.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, I never.
Well, that's I like that the whole Hunter the Reckoning campaign took that idea. So to a certain extent.
So, he did all kinds of games, and he used everything. He made up his own stuff, but he actually made just encountering normal vampires as mortals terrifying.
Yeah.
Not like you go to the dark nightclub downtown where Lord Toreador Fauntleroy is there. Like, yes, I'm a vampire. I lord over all I see.
Like Lord Toreador Fauntleroy. I'll have to steal that at some time.
Go ahead. All this stuff is public domain, by the way.
Yeah, something like that.
But
Creative Commons, bitches. Anyway.
No, Sean was particularly fond of Nosferatu.
Yeah.
And using them as players' first encounter with vampires.
That would be a good way of putting it.
Actually, them and Jimisi.
Yeah.
He was really good at using those.
Flesh crafting. Yeah,
because he said he actually really got kind of tired of just the Camarilla. He said bored him. And he ran a few games where there was no Camarilla. All vampires were just on their either the Sabbat or on their own. Right.
Especially if you set the game in an isolated area, not a major city, then you could certainly have the humans aren't going to know anything about vampire society anyway. So one bloodsucker is as freaky as the next.
Yeah. Another good thing he did. I'm not really mentioning specific games, but the stuff he did. He liked to run games in Springfield. Yeah, that was the setting. And the thing is,
that's the town we live in. So.
Yeah, and it was effective because he could make things we've seen every day creepy. Like he could point out, the Tyndall feed mill.
Yeah,
there's something dark and sinister about it. Or cemeteries that we've driven by every day.
Right. Make the familiar, corrupt the familiar. Yeah. Make them unfamiliar, basically. So, that's true. Again, that's like the Silent Hill principle. You take a normal town, then you put some fog in it, and then after that, you do that for a while, then turn it into hell, basically.
Especially if it's stuff you're personally familiar with. And
yeah, exactly.
Actually, okay, this is off topic, but do you remember when we went to go watch Darkness in Branson?
Yeah.
It was like December 27th, 2 days after Christmas. We went down. By the way, shit movie, by the way. But the road trip was worth it because when we got to Branson, it was completely abandoned.
Yeah, and this is Branson, Missouri. This is like one of the live music show capitals of the world. Hundreds of millions of people every year go there. It's bumper to bumper traffic most of the year.
Yeah, we went down there.
Tour buses, families, old people. Just there are all these music shows. There are country music, but I mean, still, it's all. That's the only time I've seen it not packed.
It was practically empty, and even more, there was a fog over everything.
Yeah,
there was a fog over the place. It was abandoned.
Yeah,
I mean, when we pulled into the theater, it was fine.
Yeah.
Then the moment we left, the fog descended again, and. That alone, we were like, dude, the movie sucked, but this is awesome.
Yeah, no, that trip made it.
I could see you. I mean, it's one of those things you could imagine shapes flitting in the fog ahead of you.
Yeah, it kind of made me want a fog or the mist type scenario, with the things and the mist. So yeah, that's a good point. So now you also mentioned Sean, acting basically.
Yeah, Sean had I think it was what I've dubbed his game face. When he was running a horror game, he was into it completely, even if no one else was. And you could tell it's we'd be this the bullshit and banter and character creation before we did stuff. He's there like drinking some sake or whatever.
Yeah.
Then when he's like, all right, everyone's done. He said, all right, everyone's done. Got their sheets. All right, and he they'll lower the lights a little bit, and suddenly his face would change. It was almost kind of like he got that underlighting on his face,
like you're telling a scary
story with a flashlight.
Yeah,
and his tone got horror. That's the best way I can put it. Just when he's describing stuff, suddenly he's speaking in his normal voice, but there's a tone to it he didn't have before. And when he does NPCs, especially crazy ones, you could believe that that's an insane person talking to you. It's rare. I've seen very few GMs do that. I think when you do creepy little kids, I think you do that very well. You should do more of that.
Okay, I actually have a one-shot scenario. Hopefully, we'll be able to play Thursday with very creepy kid.
And the thing is, you do it best when you're not even really saying creepy things.
Yeah. When
it's just a kid, asking where his mommy is, but just the way you say it. It's where I was like, I don't know who your mom is. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had a lot of practice running Little Fears and Monsters and Other Childish Things. That sort of helped. But yeah, that's true. And if you're a GM, if you can commit like an actor, if you can be brave enough that the key word for me is Sean was into it even if no one else was. I mean, if you can not be self-conscious. And just lower your inhibitions to enough.
Let loose.
Let loose. And really just be brave enough to go out there not be afraid of looking like an idiot or whatever else. Mm-hmm. You can really enhance the quality of your game. And this doesn't just apply to horror. No, I mean any dramatic game.
I do that with my action games. I admit sometimes I'll actually start doing machine gun noises.
Yeah.
Or explosion noises. And even though I feel like an idiot, I do it, and it comes across well. I think.
I know in a couple of horror games, I have this trick where I hit the table if something's walking towards the group, or if something's banging on the door. Or something like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the thing is, the door's starting to give, guys. What are you going to do? So,
but you can, even if the players aren't into it, if you're into it, you've at least accomplished that.
Yeah, true.
It's just don't leave your ego at the door.
Yeah, you really it's a game to have fun, but you really need to push beyond your boundaries if you want to run a really exceptional game.
Now, with all that in mind,
Yeah.
I have also been in some real piles of shit.
Okay.
Ones that I almost don't think about, and then somehow something will remind me of it. I'm like, oh god. Like, okay, one for instance was a group I did 2 games with.
Well, say that. I mean, is that going to be your anecdote, or are you talking about something else?
Oh, I guess I suppose. Yeah.
You got to save something for the rest of the show, Tom.
You think I should?
Well, I mean, what are some of in the games like? What about the abortive? horror
Okay,
games?
well, for my friend David, I've mentioned it before. He tried to run a horror game one time.
Okay.
I don't even remember the system. I don't remember what the plot was. I don't remember what character I played. All I do remember is that, well, as you said, you remember, like, don't overdo something.
Yeah.
In this case, gore. He overdid the gore.
Oh, right.
This was a game he thought gore equals horror.
Yeah.
And he laid it on.
Common mistake to
He
make.
laid it on thick from the moment the game started. I think we were investigating. I think it was a dungeon. I think it was a fantasy game.
Right.
I think he had just purchased the Book of Vile Darkness too.
Oh, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. So this was his first go with it.
Yeah.
I think his first and only go. But we got into the it was, I remember, it was 3rd edition D&D.
Yeah.
We went down into this dungeon, and the first thing he did, he says, and the walls are are made of writhing entrails. Like, oh, okay, well, good. It's like kind of a right off the bat thing. The further we got, the more gore there was.
Right.
And every time we encountered a monster group, they were tearing people to shreds, and it was kind of nice until we realized. He says, and like you're deeper into this dungeon, and then these you see two Vroks are tearing apart this child with pigtails. Like, where are all these people coming from? Like, there's no towns or villages anywhere near this place.
Yeah, it's awfully convenient. Yeah, that's too heavy, too quick, especially the entrails at the beginning. Like a better way of doing the exact same thing, or at least the entrails on the walls, is on the wet dungeon walls. Just describe it in graphic detail, and then you see the walls are lined with some sort of tubes or something like that. You can't really tell. You approach it, and
the tunnel smells of a butcher's shop.
Yeah. And as they get near, you see it's this fleshy material. You make a medicine check or a healing check. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, it's entrails! What the hell? But you look around, there are hundreds of them, and they're all fresh. What foul magic would keep them from rotting? Where did they get so many? Make a sanity check.
Yeah, it ended with. It of course ended with Mephistopheles.
Right. Because
he had also played.
What level were your guys?
I think we were like 15.
Oh, okay.
We weren't supposed to fight him, but he was there, and we had to. It was like solve Mephistopheles' riddle or something.
Yeah. Beat him in a fiddle contest.
Yeah, something like that. Which, of course, actually, I remember the riddle part. Basically, made everything we did beforehand not make sense.
Right.
Like, we're going through, is this horror and gore and blood and organs and tissue and bodies and violence, and then he's there on his black throne with skulls all around him, and like, have we descended into Kenya? It says, he's like, well, I don't know, but you're here now, and he says you have to solve. Yeah. Where's that? It's Kenya, the 8th level of.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what the hell is Kenya? Suddenly they're running really fast. You run as fast as Kenyans. Sorry.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Way to go, Ross.
Power thing.
And then he gives us the riddle that's.
Hey guys, can you solve this Sudoku puzzle, or I swallow your soul?
And the thing, and what the thing that made the whole thing pointless was the riddle that the Sphinx gave Oedipus.
Oh, what walks on 4 legs and
then 2 legs and then 3 legs. And
that's the oldest riddle in the book. Damn, you might as well say what's black, white, red all over.
And of course,
the newspaper.
Yeah, and the thing is, the players were we solve it immediately. You're like, and he's like, Dave's like, oh, well, good. I shall let you go then. Thanks. And here's the treasure you were looking for.
Oh man, that's I don't know. Maybe the devil was just having a good day. He's like, man, I just met this girl. I'm feeling great. I'll give him an easy one. You came all the way down there to see me. How you guys doing?
Yeah, this was like...
Want some lemonade?
Yeah, this was like the second or third time he tried to run the same campaign, which was a great idea.
Yeah.
But I think it was, he had just played some games with Sean. Sean was doing successful horror, and he's like, I could do that.
Yeah. I mean, you should always try new things. I mean, you never know what you're going to expect. Again, one of the best games I've ever played in was a game where I was a Jewish doctor hiding out from the Nazis in World War II.
And that can be fucking scary.
Yeah, no, it was a 25-point character. I mean, yeah, fighting was not an option. I mean, like, my idea of aiding the resistance was treating their gunshot wounds and hoping to God the Nazis didn't find my black market clinic.
And dude, like, you want to talk about horror? It doesn't have to be supernatural. Just imagine, cowering as a German tanks pulled up outside, and a bunch of SS troops are now searching the buildings in your neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. It's it can apply to any situation. So it's just how you frame it, really. And I found, I mean, initially I was like, I don't want to play someone who's such a wuss who's he can't do anything. And then I really got into the game and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, I think the weaker characters present themselves well to horror.
Yeah.
Because you can't fight it off most of the time.
I mean, the key was the weaker characters shouldn't be incompetent at everything.
No. But
they should be only competent in a few areas.
Like a doctor or a plumber, or electrician.
Right, or a soldier. But a soldier's, a basic infantryman, not a special forces, Walker, Texas Ranger kind of guy. Sorry.
What's with this Walker, Texas Ranger stuff?
Well, I don't know.
I guess, well, you might as well try to explain why the tides come in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because they're afraid of Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
boom! Yeah. Old memes. Yeah, dude, all your base are belong to us. Yeah.
Ross kicking it up a notch here.
Yeah, old school. Yeah, then talk about old school. Anyways, so, yes.
Oh, also thinking back, like kind of an unusual horror game we did was Sean actually did a horror comedy one time.
Yeah? How was that?
It was good. It was Teenagers from Outer Space, which is it's a comedy game. But Sean did a horror scenario in it that was actually really effective.
Yeah.
Which is, it was I was playing the son of alien conquerors and generals.
Right.
Who they decide that since I did so well on my midterms, they're gonna treat us and a bunch of friends to a free camping experience on another planet.
Yeah.
So it starts off the normal bullshit. We land on the planet. And there's like there's just a guy in like the tour guide outfit. As we're going past all the sites we can see on this dark forest planet. It says over there was a site of an ancient battle where it's like where the enemies were crucified upside down. Oh, it says, and over there is the strange temple that appears to be built more to keep something in than out. And he's going through all these. It says, and over here is Camp Crystal Lake.
And it's adjacent to Elm Street.
And of course, it's this. It's a summer camp, wooden cabins type thing.
Right.
And then he started throwing every kind of horror cliche at us.
Yeah.
But once again, he did them so well. It was actually a little freaky, even though we got the Jason Voorhees sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and he says, except Sean did it wrong on purpose.
Yeah.
He did, and he says, I was like, actually, I think it's like this. And you're like, oh, thank you. Does it again, and then we scream. And
so yeah, you can. That's what actually brings up one of the things I was thinking about is that horror is a very flexible, adaptable genre, and by that I mean you can put it with anything, virtually any other genre, and have a horror whatever. For example, Shaun of the Dead. It's really a romantic comedy. It's
with zombies.
With zombies, but it's still at its heart a guy trying to get his girl back. Yeah. And he does. But, spoilers. But
if you haven't seen that movie by now, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Yeah, go watch it. What the hell's wrong with you? Yeah, anyways. So then you have, horror westerns. You have sci-fi horror, like Dead Space, which we'll talk about. One of the game that our listener called in Andrew, he said he basically ripped off the movie Alien. And
nothing wrong with that.
No, that's great. Yeah. Rip off. Yeah. Again, gaming is about ripping off whatever works for you. So if Alien is basically a haunted house movie, except it's a spaceship instead of a house. And it's a monster instead of a
Alien. Yeah, is the.
Yeah. That's why I said Alien.
Okay. I thought, I didn't know if there was an S on the end of it.
No, I said Alien, Tom.
Fine.
You're just not paying attention.
I don't do that sometimes.
So, if you want to keep horror new, if you want to try something different, don't think of just horror. Give it, a suffix or a prefix or whatever. So, add another genre to it. Fantasy horror. I mean, obviously not necessarily Book of Vile Darkness, but you could, if you look at the Robert E. Howard stories, a lot of the pulp fantasy,
Iron Heroes would show itself well to horror.
Oh yeah, because you don't have any magic, and so magic is this weird, unfamiliar thing. Then you have, what other genre? I mean,
action,
military horror.
Yeah,
you could.
Dude, what was that movie? Was it Outpost?
Yeah, Outpost.
Yeah.
Mercenaries in Eastern Europe help a scientist go to this abandoned Nazi bunker to find out what's going on. And yeah, that's a good movie to watch, actually.
And there's another one. It was the World War I Trench.
Death Watch.
Death Watch.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah, so you could have military horror, military supernatural horror, military torture porn with where the guys Saw or Hostel or any number of things. So take your favorite genre and apply horror to it and see how that works. So if you're on the fence about horror or the pendulum, I don't know.
Pit and the Pendulum reference.
Yeah. See how that works. So another thing, though, one technique that we didn't really mention last game or episode, is foreshadowing. I think foreshadowing is crucial for a really great horror game. Now, if you listen to our actual plays of The Fear Itself game, which was the follow-up to the Esoterrorist game, a lot of people are really liking The Fear Itself. It's a more serious game. It actually applies a lot of what you're listening to.
Well, we got into it, so there's actually less joking, I think.
One of the things I did that really helped is I specifically said, all right, I want this to be, let's keep the joking and BS it to minimum.
I think that's the problem with my group a lot, too.
Yeah.
That, I tried to run a Star Wars game. And I already mentioned this game.
Yeah.
I think I should have said right off the bat, okay, I'm going to set this a little more serious tone.
Right. So again, this is what they call, what I mentioned last episode, the social contract, the rules of etiquette that apply to the people at the table. And so specifically, just bring it out in the open. Don't just leave it to this unspoken thing where you just hope people will read your mind.
You're never close enough friends where you can read each other's minds like that.
Right. Unless that's a horror setting, some David Cronenberg thing. Anyways, Scanners. See, Scanner, sci-fi horror, Scanners.
Screamers.
That's just bad.
I know.
Besides, that was Philip K. Dick. No.
But we laughed.
Anyways, so for foreshadowing, so obviously the first thing is, tell your players, hey, I want to run a scary game. Let's keep the joking and the BS to a minimum, or let's cut it out.
That kind of prepares the battlefield.
Yeah. So then foreshadowing. What the example in the Fear Itself game that I ran that people mentioned in the comments on the site is, at one point this sort of Mephistopheles type bum gives one of the players lighter fluid and help so he can do something, and then later on this same PC Cody is fighting another bum who's made a deal with the same sort of deal maker, and Cody wins and ties him up with duct tape and things like that, and the bum asks him, so what did he give you? And Cody says, oh, he gave me lighter fluid. Then the bum holds up his hand showing that his bonds have been cut and says, he gave me a knife. And then there was just this pause, and then they started fighting to the death, and then Cody lit him on fire, and he died. So,
yeah.
But people really dug that because that was foreshadowed. Because Cody knew that other bum had made a deal with him. He knew that the deal maker gave people tools. Yeah. So, but he didn't think about getting it specifically. So when he revealed it, it was consistent. It was internally consistent, and yet it scared him because it's like, oh shit, the guy who I thought was neutralized, that I thought was tied up, is not actually tied up, and he's about to stab me in the face. So, oh shit. So, really great horror games can do that. Like in the movie Quarantine. Mm-hmm. There's a great, part where spoilers. This is sort of a third in the, they find Patient X or Patient Zero, basically this old woman who starts biting people, and one of the cops shoots her 3 times in the chest, and later on things go pear-shaped, just go put it kindly, and so they go back up to her apartment to look for something. Her body is gone. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, oh shit, what's going on here? So to foreshadow, basically introduce some element, some clue that gives a hint to the scare that you want to put on later on, but don't reveal the full shape. Say there's an odd sound. that they can't describe, or there's the body on the floor, or something like that. Yeah, or that one thing, the Shadow over Innsmouth, the main character is trying to look into this town and its weird habits.
Or like we're back to Alien, looking at that mummified alien that's chest seems to be burst outward.
Exactly. That's a very good foreshadowing. Yeah. And then later on, start introducing more and more clues, build it on until the player's forgotten all about the first thing. They're getting into the action, and then you just slam them in the face. You just go bam.
Like that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And hit him over the head with the revelation that thing you thought of that had no significance earlier on. Yeah, guess what? Yeah, the reason why that alien had a explosion coming from inside his chest because there was a monster inside his chest. And oh look, your friend, same thing's happening to him.
Yeah, but be careful. Don't throw something out that you didn't. That you didn't.
Well, you can't have a sudden jump, but it can't be. It won't be as. It won't have as much of an impact.
Well, I mean, you can do it, but if you're going to do that, at least mention it a little bit, something.
Well, I mean, everyone's
I've had some games where something happened that things jumped out that made no sense.
That's a clue. It can be something totally new to the players, but the key is it can't contradict what you've already established. Does that make sense?
Yes. No. That's that's what's happened a few times.
So, give me an example.
Well, it's we were in this place, and it was an underground laboratory in a game.
All right.
And we were all wearing the level 4 bio suits.
Right.
And we're seeing and there's a bunch of bodies, blood bleeding out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good shit.
Yeah.
And we're told, that before we go in that this virus, once it's infected, you have 5 minutes to live.
Okay.
So we
got that all established.
Yeah. So we go in, and a guy starts shooting at us with an Uzi.
Okay.
Which in itself is first because they've claimed the whole place has been bioscanned. There's no life signs present.
Okay.
So there was that. They were told there was no motion.
Okay.
And they're still scanning it.
Okay.
But suddenly, a guy just appears with an Uzi and starts shooting at us.
Okay. Was he wearing a biohazard suit?
No.
Okay. You see, the thing is, you could have had a really good game that contradicted one of those rules, but not both of them. You see, you established two rules. One, deadly virus. In 5 minutes, you're dead. Okay, So that's rule 1. Rule 2 is it's been scanned. There's no life, no motion. So you could have the GM could have broken one of those rules and then explained it later on, because that seemingly contradiction at first can be used to create suspense and tension. Be like, oh crap, I thought we were safe. Oh crap, I thought this was real. And then you reverse it, by reversing it, but you can only do that so many times. And in general, you need to be consistent. So, for example, if it turns out the bioscanners were faulty, or that this guy had some gadget that protected him from being detected, a cloaking device. Or B, the virus doesn't affect him because he's a mutant, he's got an antidote or vaccine. But to have both rules broken at once, it would have been scary if he was just wearing a biohazard suit. And maybe there's some sort of visual clue that shows that he's cloaking, like there's some sort of static field around him.
Yeah.
And then you could be like, oh, he's wearing a cloaking device. And then all of you realize, oh crap, we're in this really contaminated place without weapons. Fuck.
Yeah. So it just it so much it just didn't make any sense at that point.
Right. So you can only break one rule at a time, and you always have to explain how the rules get broken. Now you can add new pieces of information as long as you don't contradict the rules.
But what the final nail in that was, and then we found out really he was there for no other purpose than to have a guy shoot at us.
Yeah. See, then that breaks everything, because then there's no internal logic to it. If things happen for no reason, no one will care, because it's just random win, So
this wasn't supposed to be an action. We were playing CDC guys.
Yeah. So I mean, that could have been a great scenario. If you're scientists surrounded by all these terrorists armed with guns, then it's sort of this survival, stealth type thing that could be really cool. But to have them break all of those rules for no reason, that sucks.
Yeah.
So hopefully that sort of differentiation helps. You know, you can't break every rule at once. You can break one rule at a time. And the best scares are foreshadowed. They're always foreshadowed. You have to build up.
And I actually suppose maybe I could have took if he fired a gun and then started screaming "Stay back."
That would have been great, because then it's like, oh, the virus is that dangerous enough that he's going crazy, you know.
And during the fight, we could tell it wasn't. He would strafe us and then just calmly drop out a magazine, pop another one, cock it, and then continue spraying.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and by the way, he had like 12 magazines on him.
Were there any other bad guys in there?
No.
That's when game mechanics get in the way of good stories. When you like, oh, I gotta have a fight here, you know.
Actually, I've been in games that had no combat.
Yeah, no combat. You know, is often a staple. You know, that should be another episode. Actually, I've been. One note: if you remember the Something Awful forums, they've recently added. They have a traditional games forum, which is play by post games, but they've added traditional game discussion, which is talking about RPGs and things like that, and board games and Mafia. I've been posting there, so and they have something about violence and non-violence in RPGs, and there's an interesting discussion going on about it. So join in. I'm Clockwork Joe on the SA forum, so feel free to say hi if you are a member of the Something Awful forums. So
just do it.
Yeah,
he's a long timer.
Yes, since 2000.
He's old school.
Yeah, I've just been
in fact, I think he was a poster on the first Photoshop Friday.
Yeah, that's true. The Bin Laden,
the Afghan bunker.
Yeah. Back before you actually had to know how to use Photoshop, which I really don't. So, anyway, so that sort of covers. Oh, one thing is the last thing I think we should talk about is we've already mentioned, you know, don't change too much. Don't keep changing the rules. If you whatever rules you establish in your universe, don't change them arbitrarily. Always have sort of an internal logic to it. And this applies to games in general, not just horror. I mean, any game. You can't just have random arbitrary crap happening unless that's part of the internal logic of the game.
Or if it's not being run in a serious manner.
The main thing is, you know, like we mentioned, foreshadowing. The best scares are the ones that are being built up for the entire campaign, the entire scenario. And one thing you should always do to really terrify players, sort of fight the cliches and the conventions. And by reversing them, inverting them, playing with them. So what does this mean? You know, basically, well, you know, if your players expect A, if they're all familiar with, you know, if you know your players, you'll know what they're familiar with, you know. And so if they're expecting that every little creepy little kid is a demon-possessed hell thing, then make it not so. The creepy little kid is just
a creepy little kid.
Yeah, he's a goth or an emo or whatever else. And another way to do it is, you know, if they expect the big bad guy to be this, make it B. You know, make it the inverse. But don't change too much. Just change a couple of the elements, a couple of the genre conventions. So if you have problems trying to figure out specific examples, you know, let us know. Feel free to post on our forums or comments on the website. We'll be glad to answer them. Or at least I will be. Because, you know, Tom's too good to post on the site.
Maybe I will. I'll tell you what. You post on that and I'll respond to it.
All right. I post all the time, Tom.
Yeah, I know. I know you do. Good for you.
Anyways, so
you see, I don't have access to a computer most of the day.
Oh, would you like some cheese with your wine?
I hate you so much, Ross. Seriously, I'm kept up at nights by how much I hate you.
Oh, that's touching. So, anyways, next up, of course, we have a letter from Tom. We have some shout outs, and Tom is staring at me, and of course, Tom has an anecdote about a horrible game, that horror game that he suffered through 2 sessions of.
Yes.
So,
coming up. Dear nameless, indescribable horrors that man was not meant to know. First off, I just wanted to thank you for being a staple of horror for so long. Big Daddy Lovecraft has made you famous, and I am grateful for that. The horror stories you inhabit and the games you have been in have made me joyfully shit myself in abject terror for many years. I think you may have even spoiled me on some horror staples. A hulking dead guy in a hockey mask wielding a machete just doesn't do it for me anymore. Unless the adversary I'm facing down has tentacles that can reduce my brain to a quivering lump of gelatinized shit, then just keep moving, because you're not scaring me in the slightest. However, I'm beginning to think that you are being misrepresented to the point of losing some of your fear. First off, you're not nameless. Indeed, many nameless, indescribable horrors that man was not meant to know, NIHTMWNMTK for short, are named and well known. Azathoth, Dagon, Yog-Sothoth, Yig, Cthulhu are all only a few, and their names are known by many. Now, I am not saying that a new stage name is what is needed, but I think a little less name recognition might do some good in the terror department. Then, of course, there's the indescribable thing. How can you be indescribable when descriptions of you are bound in many sources? Hell, in many of the books I have read, there are even pictures of you. Now, I assume these are artist interpretations, but the mere fact that artists have material to work with speaks volumes. I'm not saying that you're not terrifying. I'm saying that you can be described by people who have seen you, and that's not good for fear. Finally, there's the thing that man was not meant to know. I don't even feel that I need to explain this one. We know all about you. Over the years, horror books and gaming tomes have acted like a very persistent tabloid and put all of your innermost secrets on public display, much like Britney Spears' tits. The only thing we mostly don't know about is who you are banging right now, although a sex scandal between Lindsay Lohan and Cthulhu would be a very interesting afternoon read. What is the point of all this? I suppose that all this means is that there's a little less mystery to you. Still, it doesn't make you any less terrifying. You're still icons of horror that the usual hero with a chainsaw arm can't defeat through brute force alone. So it's okay that we know all about you. It just means that we'll know how fucked we are when you pop out of a dimension of crawling madness and shout boo. So maybe all you need is a slight change of title. Instead of nameless, indescribable horrors that man was not meant to know, how about well-known described horrors that will fucking kill you in the time it takes you to shit your pants? Or WKDHTWKFYITTITYTSYP for short. Practical and simple.
9, 4, 1, 9, 4, 1, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 4, 1, 9, 4, 1, 9, 4, 1.
I'm very impressed, Tom. That last abbreviation, that last acronym, I bet if you phonetically pronounced it, it would sound like a new Lovecraftian god, a Cthulhu mythos god.
It's possible.
All right, can we hear that phonetically?
All right, Wick hit with Fiat what it sip.
See? I mean, that's either a stuttering priest trying to pronounce his god's name, or a really, really fucked up god that only, the Aborigines of southeast of a remote Pacific island.
This sounds more like kind of a clicking language sound to me.
Oh yeah, clicking language. Maybe it's the insect men who live beneath the deserts of Arabia.
Oh, there's a story right there.
Yeah.
You can't use it though, it's mine.
Did we just blow your mind?
I'm blowing your mind.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So, anyways, why don't we talk about some shout-outs?
Yeah, why don't we?
First off, I'd like to mention the very excellent survival horror video game, Dead Space, which is for the 360 PlayStation.
If you know anything about video games in the last few weeks, then you should know about this game.
360, PlayStation 3, and PC. Basically, you play Isaac Clarke, this engineer who's going to repair this big old spaceship, the Ishimura. Guess what? Some really messed up shit is going on in the Ishimura, and so you have to use industrial tools to kill monsters, and the gimmick is you have to dismember them to really kill them. Like just shooting them in the body, not gonna work. Dismembering them with a plasma torch, that'll work.
And there's an animated movie coming out about this.
Yeah, Dead Space Downfall, and there's also a comic book with the art done by Ben Templesmith, who did 30 Days of Night. So there's also an animated version of the comic, which is basically voiceover actors reading the script as they show the panels from the comics. So it's a brand new horror franchise. I'm tempted to run a game set in that universe because there's a lot of material for it. It's an homage in some ways to other previous horror games like System Shock 2, Bioshock.
Doom 3.
Doom 3.
Okay, I like that game.
Yeah,
right.
And more System Shock 2,
right?
And which you probably haven't played.
I played that. Yes.
Oh, you have?
Yes,
okay,
I have.
So, there's also some excellent zero gravity stuff and vacuum stuff where you're actually in space. And guess what? There's no space and there's no sound in space, so it's very easy for the monsters to sneak up on your ass and
and bite it.
Yeah, and kill you. So there's a video that I'll link as well, listing every single way you can die in that particular game, and it's really awesome. There's one enemy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of a spoiler, but I don't give a crap. Just to show you how awesome this game is, it's kind of a weird little bundle of tentacles that it'll grab onto your head, and if you don't rip it off in time, it'll rip your own head off, stick its tentacles down your spinal column, and then the little center mass of it will pull into your head, and sort of you'll be a zombie with a new head. Yeah.
Nice.
It's really fucked up, and I really enjoy it. And it's the only thing is it doesn't have a lot of replay value because it's only about 12 hours, and you don't really, there's hard, easy, normal, and impossible. If you beat it, you get the impossible mode, but it's the same game, just a lot harder. So.
Yeah.
Still worth at least a rental, if not a purchase. So what do you got?
Well, actually, along that line, at the movie I recently purchased, where I first saw the trailer for that animated version of Dead Space.
Yeah.
Which was Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer.
Tell us about it, Tom.
I think I will.
All right.
It is a movie very much along the lines of Army of Darkness. About a guy whose parents were killed by monsters when he was a kid.
Aww.
And so now he has severe anger issues.
I would bet.
And it has Robert Englund in it, Freddy Krueger,
right,
who's playing this community college night class teacher who gets possessed by this demon heart that turns him into a horrible monster in the middle of class. And it traps him in a community college, which
nice.
I went to one, so it's very reminiscent. It's a scenario I've actually thought about running in a game a few times.
Nice.
It's where he's a plumber. He has to rise to the occasion to defeat the monster, to save his fellow classmates and his new girlfriend after he's dumped his old one for being a total bitch.
Okay, that's very good. I've got a couple more.
All right.
One is Fatal Frame 1, which is an Xbox video game. But you can play it on the 360, obviously. And there's a whole franchise now. Fatal Frame basically 1. You play this girl looking for her brother in a Japanese mansion that's been abandoned. Mm-hmm. And you have this antique camera that can take photos of ghosts. And the camera's photos will damage the ghosts, sort of steal their spirit, which is good because the ghosts all want to kill you. Right. So you're wandering through this mansion, solving puzzles, trying to find your brother, figure out the mystery. There's this whole ancient Shinto ritual of human sacrifice where they strangle a girl with ropes tied around her limbs and head, and that severs the limbs. Yeah, so it's pretty nasty. So it's very, very Japanese. I really think so.
Japanesey?
Yeah. But it's got really great scares, and if you're running a game, you can learn a lot because it has perfect foreshadowing. I mean, it's the same mansion, but so the actual area of the game is pretty small, but the more you get into it, the more it changes. You find hidden rooms, you go back to areas you found earlier, and you find new secrets. The camera takes photos of places, and it covers secrets. And it's a really, really well put together game. The actual mechanic, I mean, you're not very powerful, but you have this camera and you move kind of slowly. So it's sort of very terrifying to come against some ghost that's really wanting to, eat your soul, basically. So, and there's no gore. There's headless ghosts, but they're all traditional Japanese ghosts, black and white, floaty, transparent. And, there's like one ghost, Broken Neck, where it's like a woman with her neck hanging behind her, on her back. And then there's Blinded Eyes, where the ghost is blind and it won't be able to find you as long as you stay perfectly still. And there's some really great. Yeah. Two more, because I just got all kinds of. Book of Unremitting Horror. This is Pelgrim Press. This is a monster book for Fear Itself and esoterists. Mostly esoterists, but still the same system, gumshoe system. Yeah, and
the book I've used for inspiration on my game.
What I really like about it is the monsters are all pretty much, not all of them, but most of them are very original. Usually in games, in horror games, you either get one or two types of monsters. One Cthulhu Mythos type monsters, or two monsters based on folklore. you know. And everyone's, and then, you know, based on popular folklore, culture, things, whatever else. So unremitting horror, there's not really, like, you could point to Hellraiser and Silent Hill as some of the influences, but the monsters are overall, they're sort of fleshy, weird shape, ugly, you know, demented things, and they're from this other dimension called the Outer Black, and they want to cause human suffering. But pretty much every monster in that game could be a whole scenario in of itself.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's some really messed up monsters in it. It's a big, thick book too, and there's sections on artifacts. There's a couple of scenarios in the book.
And I love the artifacts.
If you love horror gaming and you want something new, really get this. Even if you don't have Gumshoe, just get it, because you can easily convert these monsters to other systems.
Yeah, I remember, like, you know, some of the artifacts were like videotapes.
Yeah.
And like tape recordings.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so much good stuff in the Book of Unremitting Horror that you just... It will revitalize your gaming. Like, I based the scenario on two monsters, the blood corpse and the Ovashi. And the Ovashi, as soon as I read it, I was like, oh my god, this is great. You could do a whole campaign with one Ovashi, and that would be the only monster in the whole campaign. Because it turns people against each other, and it just, so much great stuff. So
and smokes souls.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, smoke souls, yeah. So, and then finally, of course, again, I'd like to mention the SA Traditional Games discussion forum, because now you have a place other than ianworld.org and rpg.net to talk about RPGs and board games and Mafia. So it just started. Please go there and post and make sure that the mods don't shut it down. People have been Trad Games. The thing in Trad Games is they've always been doing play-by-post games, and that's sort of dominated. And I'm in one of the play-by-post games, actually. A GURPS zombie survival horror game where I'm playing a horror movie director.
Imagine that.
Catches himself in a zombie apocalypse, and it's been pretty fun. So, but you can't really have discussion in play-by-post games on the same forum, because play-by-post games, people are posting so often they'll just drive discussion out of the way. So now that they finally separated it, there's some really interesting discussions going on. So yeah, I would definitely check it out if you have an account on the Something Awful forums. It's $10 to register, but that's for lifetime. But if you're already on there, all right,
go.
And finally, I'm starting a play-by-post game, Fear Itself, on our forums, the RPPR forums. This is sort of an experiment. I make no promises. There's already 5 or 6 people, or 4 or 5 people posting characters. So even I'm probably going to start the game pretty soon, because people have already shown a lot of interest in it. But if you're a fan of that stuff, check it out. I'll be trying to post every day, every couple days. It's basically set in just read it. It's survival horror.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I might post in it too.
All right then. Are you gonna make a character, Tom?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Ooh, well, we'll see.
It's on now.
Yeah, it is. It's on like Donkey Kong.
Whoa.
Yes. So, and of course, as always, I know we haven't mentioned this in a while, but if we do, for those of you who've just joined us or new listeners, we appreciate any and all iTunes reviews. Please give us a review on iTunes, positive review. We appreciate it. We do this for free. We've taken down ads. Also, we do have an Amazon affiliate thing, so if you buy something on Amazon, we get, a little bit of it, but this is a labor of love, people, so any of those reviews would be highly appreciated.
Yeah. We do it for you.
Let's try to get 50 reviews.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're at 10 now. We appreciate each and every
40 more, that's all we ask.
Yeah. So, anyways, Tom, I believe you had an anecdote.
Yeah, so much so that I was almost mentioning it in the show. I can't believe I couldn't remember this until now, but
I blocked it out.
Yeah, I tried to block it out. Okay, there was a group I used to run stuff in at my college, OTC, Ozark.
That's a community college.
Yeah, Ozark Technical College, and I met these guys. Yeah, first of all, I can spot a gaming group at a table immediately. You can just tell.
Yeah.
So I go there to. I got in there by saying, "Oh, hey, what do you guys play?" Boom. An hour conversation ensued. So they invite, like, hey, we're trying something new here. It's like, you want to come in with us? Like, yeah, sure, I'm always good. So the first game we do is like later in the afternoon, and there's no place open overnight, so it's still kind of daylight, but he wanted to run a horror campaign. Now, he was running it in Beyond the Supernatural, which is Palladium's horror system. You know how I feel about that, but whatever.
Yeah, Palladium rules are terrible.
Yeah. So I don't even remember the character I was playing. An investigator who starts out with all of his skills as shit.
Right.
So, it's pretty average. A few good things. But there's something I'm noticing he's doing whenever he's describing stuff. He had a way of describing it that I did not really think about until I saw a particular show on the Sci-Fi Channel, which was Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. In fact, we'll
try and put a link up.
Yeah, actually, I want to do a belated shout out to Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Yeah,
that is an awesome ass show.
It is. Too bad it was only 6 episodes.
Yeah. Basically, it's a parody of those '80s horror TV shows.
80s action shows as well. I mean, not just, horror, but, the sci-fi thing, that A-Team type stuff. 80s shows in general.
Yeah.
Action shows.
So, and Garth Marenghi, the guy who does it, always does these intros. And also, he's also the primary actor in it, too. And I realized the GM loved to describe stuff and talk in ways that Garth Marenghi, used to do, like, in the beginning of one of the episodes, he was, like, reading from a book he wrote. Which he says his hand was severed at the wrist, from the stump, squirmed millions of wriggling maggots. He would do that. He would describe stuff and then repeat it. He says the wall is like the evil symbol is painted on the wall in blood. And and everything that he thought was horror, was horrific, he would repeat. I remember, we were fighting. It was like some Palladium demon, and he says he's glistening with blood red slime. Slime. And I could not take it seriously.
Right.
The scenario was kind of interesting, but the way he kept repeating all that. I was trying not to laugh the whole time.
Glistening.
And finally, I forgot. I've only played 2 sessions with him. It was we actually basically he finished the scenario.
Yeah.
And I never played with him after that again. And I forgot it. I kind of forgot about it. Just a forgettable game until I saw Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, and it all came back to me. Like, oh my god.
People actually do that.
And I thought, maybe the show was this was like 2005, so I thought maybe he saw this. I don't think Garth Marenghi's Dark Place came out.
Yeah, it was done at early as 2006.
So this was him. This was all him who did this.
Well, Garth, wow, what a strange world.
And I guess it's maybe the reason I love the show so much.
Right.
Because that's what the game reminded me of. It was kind of like a ridiculous, show.
Yeah, true.
And it was like we went, to scene to scene to scene.
Yeah.
And each time he would try to up the ante of what's horrific. Not the starting with the walls that are in entrails, nothing like that. But every is like. It was kind of like going through a haunted house, and each room we went in had something more freaky. It's like, go to this room. It says in the middle of the room is a giant beating heart.
Unless it has some sort of connection to the actual players, to their, what's going on, it's just set dressing. I mean, if the beating heart was somebody they knew, then that's horror.
It was like a giant beating heart.
Well, yeah, that's just whatever. That's just freaky.
Yeah.
If you had done the entire game ultra realistically, nothing supernatural, and that was the first supernatural thing they saw, then that would have an effect. But just to be like a giant beating heart, whatever.
But yeah,
what does it mean? What is it connected to? What does it signify? So, I'm just too clinical.
No, it is, but I couldn't get clinical. All I could think about was the constant repetition.
Right, repetition. Well, of course, Tom, you know what this means. Of course, you need to close out the show.
Oh, yeah. I guess I opened it.
Yeah.
And I thought I did a bang.
But you can't just close it. You need to close it out right.
I need to close the show out right. Is that it?
Close it out right.
All right.
Close it out right.
Well, fine. This has been Role Playing Public Radio episode 23. This has been Ross Payton, and I'm Tom Church. Thank you for tuning in. Role-playing public radio. Role-playing public radio.